We have a wonderful array of people here. I met many of you last night, different countries, different organizations. So just before each question, Sarah, if you could just say your name, organization, and where you come from.
Okay. My name is Abdul Malik Ali. I'm the resident Imam Masjid Taqwa, Trenton, New Jersey. I first became involved with HIV and AIDS in 1980, I believe it was, going into the prison system and addressing young men that didn't know what they had, didn't know what it was, and other people were afraid of it and talked about what could be, you could get it by touch, you can get it by this or the other. And my philosophy was then and it is now, whatever is ordained for me is ordained for me. But I'd like to applaud you, the people sitting up there, for coming forth and standing up, because I think that's the lesson. The lesson is to hear people that are going through it, to teach us not just the lesson of HIV, but the lessons of life, period. Life is a struggle. Life is a growth process. And that growth process allows us to be able to get the blessings that God has intended for us. And unless we go through what is given to us, we can't get the blessings. So whatever person may classify sin to be in this world has nothing to do with what God's reward is going to be on the other side. Because it's the struggle that we go through and the acceptance of it that allows us to be able to grow in this life and to grow in the afterlife. You know, and as a Muslim imam, I catch it a lot because I fight for the benefit of these people and fight for the benefit of others who are struggling through other things. And many times, many Muslims stick their head in the sand and want to deny that it happens because we had this idea that we're better than anybody else. But as human beings, that's all we are. And as human beings, we're going to make mistakes. And as we make mistakes, if we own up to it and face it, then God gives us the strength to go forth and help other people. And I thank you again for sitting up there and standing before the world and expressing where you're at and how other people can get past it. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Fagmeda, coming from the same tradition, did you have any thoughts for the brother on his statement, his perspective?
First of all, I just want to say, for me, it's really strange that although religions, we have different religions, HIV actually brought back all these religions again. All of us here are from a different religion because of HIV. And I think that is wonderful. That's all I have to say.
So, if I could turn to you.
Hi, I'm Peter Prove, the Executive Director of the Ecumenical Advocacy Alliance. I'd like to thank all of the panelists for really bringing incredible inspiration from your personal experiences and from, importantly, your faith traditions. It's such an incredibly valuable resource that you've given us. I wonder if I could ask those panelists who feel inclined to do so to say a word about your vision for the potential of interfaith collaboration in addressing HIV. You've spoken about the resources from within your own faith traditions, but I think it'd be very important for this interfaith conference to hear your vision of the potential, the challenges, and the opportunities for interfaith, much larger, much more focused interfaith collaboration in the struggle against HIV. Thank you.
Who would like to take up that question? Pablo.
I think that it's necessary to open the windows and the door that we've been closing because of misunderstandings. Coming from the young MSM community, and as a young person living with HIV, is even when I say that I'm coming here, like the people that are in other pre-conferences ask me, like, but what are you going to do in there? And what are you going to say? So definitely, I think it's something that we need to work on and together to make sure that the dialogue is open. And as I said it, and when I had the opportunity to meet some of you in New York, we need to build bridges to open new spaces and to make sure that we are doing it for good.
JP.
When Inarella was first formed 10 years ago now, we sat together as a group of Christian religious leaders. And one of the things that we knew as we were all living with HIV was that we were fighting stigma. And then we reasoned, actually, stigma isn't unique to Christianity. And we went beyond that to say, HIV is bigger than the church, but it's not bigger than God. And so, for us, it became hugely important that we brought faith communities together to be able to lean on each other to find the answers of dealing with HIV holistically. And as an interfaith network, we have worked over these 10 years. It has been in other people's traditions that I have frequently found the key to unlock treasures in my own. And so for me, interfaith work around HIV is not just useful, it's critical.
There's one thing that comes to mind in terms of a learning from HIV. It has broadened my evangelical Pentecostal perspective in ways that I can't even articulate really in words. But having to more broadly see gender, more broadly see sexuality, more broadly view culture in so many ways is attributable to 20 plus years of working in the HIV epidemic without question. But it also informs a broad view of the bigness of God and of the divine, and how the bigness of God and the bigness, the large, huge landscape, the panoramic landscape of the divine. And in a very personal way, it has opened my heart to a connection to the God in my brothers and sisters, that if I am not essentially forced to have this kind of binary construct about gender, about sexuality, then I'm also not forced to have only one view of a faith path. And I cannot explain the horizons that has opened for me around African indigenous faith, around Native American faith, around our Jewish brothers and sisters, and I can go on and on and on in terms of what that has done. But this epidemic, if we're going to serve in it, we have to let it open our hearts to the bigness of each other's cultures, religions, faith paths. This is such an opportunity to see how big God really is, really is.
Thank you. Swamiji, final answer on this question.
I belong to an interfaith group in the Reunion Island. But each time the subject of HIV or homosexuality comes, this group becomes very much stiff. So I feel we have to go beyond. Locally, we cannot do very much things, so we have to go beyond. And to go beyond is to come to this type of meeting, international meeting. And I feel we should create one panel maybe, as we did in Bangalore once, and find out in all the traditions, in the holy books, what can help us to prove that religion is not against HIV people. We may be against HIV, but we should not be against HIV people. So that's why I feel that with all the religious people at high level, and people who are open-minded, of course, so we should work together and prove that the books are there, telling that we can go beyond the limits, beyond ignorance, because the books are already the proofs that we are the manifestation of God, we can say.
Thank you, sir.